every other financial services concern or corporate in the fintech space, we battle to attract, at least we struggle to find people in the development world, software development, very scarce, very niche IT skills. That's a problem that we're all facing. And the companies with extremely deep pockets often win that war, because it has become so, I think it's become so commoditized. Those types of roles, there are only a handful of people who can do them, and everybody wants them. So we are struggling in that space. As I said, like everyone else is. So across all the areas where we do take a little bit longer to fill positions because of talent shortages, we find that the skills that are needed in those areas are very niche. In our IT division, everybody is searching for the same talent there in terms of development talent. In our insurance business, the regulatory requirements make the pool very tiny, so you have a very small talent pool that every insurer is fighting to get into. And in the home loan space, you've got a very unique mix of individual. It's not quite, as they say in the traditional sense, a hunter. It's not quite a farmer. It's sort of a combination of the two, and it's very relationship driven. And those people just don't exist everywhere. It, again, is a very small pool. So we've had to look at ways to deal with that. And a reactive approach has not been successful for us. And I think for me the biggest thing at the time was candidates are increasingly becoming discerning about where they work. They don't want to work for palooka companies that treat them like cannon fodder. They are going to become increasingly difficult to convince to work for your business. The tables have turned completely. So we had a vision and the realization that we better be ready for that. So traditionally, you have a vacancy and it's somebody that you didn't see leaving. And it's somebody that took you a very long time to find, or who has been with the business for a very long time, who's got a great deal of IP, who's built up very specialist, very niche skills, and they leave and you suddenly have to scramble to find a replacement. That's a very reactive way of recruiting, and that is traditionally how we've always done it. We changed the way we recruit. We began a journey probably a good 6 years ago now, where we realized through the expertise of a partner that the reactive approach to recruiting is not going to deliver the results you need. You have to take a more proactive approach. You've got to grow a community of people who build an affinity or have an affinity with your brand, who start to get to know your business and who actually aspire to work there one day. And so will look out for the next vacancy and will follow you on social media and will contribute to conversations that you're having. That is the way that we have managed to take what was a very, very difficult find for us. Well, it was very difficult for us to find talent in our insurance business specifically, because we would have multiple vacancies. The growth of the business has been exponential. So we'd go from needing one consultant to 5, and finding one consultant was a challenge. We've now, through our partnership with Blueprint Talent, managed to have a situation where we don't actually have one candidate waiting in the wings, we have several. So it's become a great deal easier for us to fill the positions that we previously would take months to fill. And that has really been thanks to a more proactive recruitment strategy that we refer to as our evergreen strategy. We are constantly encouraging people to apply for work with us. We communicate with them, we build a relationship with them, and when the time is right, then we can say, right, we've got a spot for you. Let's talk. And that's really been one of the ways that we've managed to deal with that scarce talent problem. Similarly, in our IT space, we have followed a similar strategy where we just have constant interaction with professionals in the different areas of business where we typically struggle to find good talent. The likes of business analysts, software developers, and really specialist technical skills. Build a relationship with them, grow a community of followers, stay in touch, where possible, provide thought leadership, provide insights into industry, and in doing so, just have people readily, I suppose, willing, if not to join, then certainly willing to talk about joining or consider joining. And that's one of the ways we've overcome this fight for talent. So I think the top 3 things I've learned, the first one definitely has to be that recruitment marketing is not consumer marketing. It's very specialized. It has a whole set of different tactics, and it's essential to get that right if you are wanting to speak to a candidate and not a consumer. That's the first thing I learned. I think the other thing I learned is the value of proactive recruitment in terms of having a readily available pipeline of people who can fill roles quickly. That's been really, really powerful. And then I think the other thing that I've learned is just the importance of the experience people have with your business when they apply for a job. Don't make them jump hoops. Don't treat them like idiots. Don't expect them to work harder than they need to. Talent is scarce, and people interview you as much as you interview them. They're assessing you. They're assessing you by your social media. They're assessing you by the extent to which they can find you online. A lot of organizations you may apply to a job for, but you can't find anything about them. There's nothing about their culture, their talent, their people, what they believe in. That stuff's really important to communicate. And the experience they have applying for a job with your company is important. It's definitely a determining factor. I think if I was to apply for a job somewhere and was asked to retype my entire CV or whatever other nonsense some companies expect you to do, I would instantly be turned off and probably wouldn't pursue the application. In building a community of people who follow your brand and your business, and who at any given opportunity when a vacancy does arrive could be suitable for that vacancy, you cannot adopt a consumer marketing approach. Recruitment marketing is very different, and that's something I was unaware of and ignorant to for many, many years until we identified the right partner for our business who really helped us see that marketing to a candidate or a prospective candidate has got similar principles, but is actually quite different to marketing to a consumer. So in order to scale that community, because your objective is obviously to continue to grow it, it doesn't help if you've got 5.5 followers for 3 years, that entirely defeats the object, is you've got to be developing content that speaks to those people, that keeps them engaged. It's all about the media you're putting out there. Are you enticing them with stories about your business, with interesting insights into their career, or the challenges that people like them potentially face in their career, what opportunities there are out there, what the future holds for them. So it's all about the type of media and content that you're putting out there. And typically it's not the kind of work that your in-house marketing department can do. You really do need an expert in this space. And that's why for us, our long-standing partnership with Blueprint Talent has taken our recruitment strategy from really zero, I think, to hero. It took us a while to find, we worked with no applicant tracking system to begin with. And that meant that CVs were coming into your inbox. You were literally needing to open, read, reply, regret every CV. So it was really important for us to have a system that enabled us to deliver on the candidate experience vision we had. So finding the right applicant tracking system can be quite challenging. You really do need to look around and know that even if you do find that one that's really great, it's probably not going to be perfect. So you've got to do the best you can with it. We are comfortable with where we've come to with our applicant tracking system, but it took us a while to learn to drive it, and we're still learning how to get more out of it every day. I think that we've learned that, in marketing they talk about vanity metrics where, you have lots and lots of likes, but there's no real engagement with any of your content. And engagement on our platforms isn't always overt, but there's a lot of engagement going on behind the scenes where we have people, saying, do you have any vacancies for us? I'd love to work for your business. So I think be careful about the metrics you use to measure the success of your campaigns. They're not always in terms of likes and followers. The stories that you tell do have an impact on people. So persevere with those stories, because they create a perception of your brand and what it would be like to work there in the minds of a prospective candidate. Somewhere along the line, they will remember what they saw when they did, and they may not have liked or followed your post or your page. The other thing that I've learned is around the careers website. Making your careers website, and I'm no marketing guru in terms of websites, but certainly making your careers website as fresh and easy to navigate as possible, logical, so that people understand where they can find the jobs that they need to apply for, but going beyond that and talking about the business. Again, it's often a situation where people will say, I couldn't find anything about you on the internet. And because we shop online, and shop online with our eyes for information as much as we do on the online retail space, people want to know about you before they even invest any effort into applying to you or coming for an interview. So make sure that there's enough stuff about your business online for them to reference and to get a feel for the type of business that you are. The absence of that makes people suspicious. They're not quite sure if you truly are legitimate or if you exist. So that's something that's really important, that we've grown significantly over the past few years. I think what we've learned is that there are a lot of internal partners, hiring managers, who truly understand the scarcity of talent out there, who get the urgency of replying to a CV or giving you feedback on long-listed CVs you've sent. Say, right, I'd like to meet these 3 people and I want to meet them next week. There are people like that in the organization. And then there are still people in the organization, hiring managers, who believe that they need the job more than we need them, and I'll interview them when I've got time, and I'll let you know what I think about the CV next week. And that process is incredibly dangerous, because what happens is that candidate just goes somewhere else, particularly in the scarce skill space. So you have to work with a sense of urgency, and it's difficult. It's like herding cats sometimes with hiring managers, particularly those who perhaps not intentionally, but because they're incredibly busy or very operationally involved, don't have the time to screen that CV or those CVs. So what we do in terms of our HR team is we work in very close partnership with the hiring manager. We understand the role very well, and we then take the process to a point at which it becomes easy for the hiring manager then to just say, okay, of the 5 you've sent me, these are the 3 I'd like to meet. So we try and do what we can to expedite that process, and that sometimes includes initial interviews by the HR practitioner, and then delivering only a list of 3 to 5 candidates for the hiring manager. And obviously, those are candidates that you would have matched very closely to the spec. So essentially, we do very much what a hiring agency will do, or a recruitment agency, and we deliver that internal service to managers, because we understand that that empty space is affecting operations, it's affecting productivity, it's affecting the ability to deliver on key projects. So we work as hard as we can to reducing that time to hire and the effort that goes into the selection process. I would give advice to people who are very early in the process or who haven't begun the process at all, to say that you absolutely have to be taking candidate marketing or candidate recruitment marketing as seriously as consumer marketing, because it's become incredibly competitive. Candidates have agency now. They can go wherever they like, particularly the scarce skilled. And as much as you have to create a customer, you also have to create a candidate. So if you haven't started promoting your brand, even if it's a basic information on your website, perhaps it's a Facebook page that you keep that you keep updated. If you haven't started, you have to start somewhere. And it can be very basic, it can be very simple, and it can be done by a very small organization. It's not only the big corporates who are doing that. Uber certainly isn't a big corporate. We're a medium-sized business. We just knew that we were not going to win this battle unless we took a very different approach to it. So if you're not doing it, I'd say you absolutely need to start somewhere. And if you have the resources to do this, definitely partner with a specialist. It's not necessarily your marketing department, and it's not necessarily a recruitment agent. It's someone who understands how to market to a candidate. That's what's important. I think when people apply to your business, they don't want to be I don't think the first thing I want to see is your applicant tracking system. They want to go to a place online where they can see your business, see more about your business, read about your business, and an applicant tracking system doesn't give you the functionality to do that. You're lucky if you can put your corporate color and your logo on there. So for me, the applicant tracking system is really purely an enabler to get the candidate from process A to B. For them to land for the first time on your business online should be on a very carefully curated website that is focused on careers, talking about a career at that company, talking about what's in it for the candidate if they join you. It's a great deal more personal, it's warmer, it gives you a much better sense of the business than going straight to a rather generic, apart from your logo and a banner in your corporate color, ATS that has the job ad, click apply here. It tells you nothing else about the business. That's not really conducive to a good candidate experience. So, something that's always been very important to me is I am someone who I usually have a vision. I have a very clear idea of what I want, but I don't necessarily know how to make that happen. And for me, it's very important to find the best possible expert partnership that money can buy me, that I can afford, to help me do what I need to do, or to help me execute this vision, or fulfill it, or realize it. I'd like to think that whenever I'm tackled with a problem, or I have a vision of something that I want to implement or know that I need to implement, that I will look for and will find the person who I believe is at that time the expert or the authority on that particular subject. And that's who I want to work with, because they are the most well-read. That's what they live, breathe, and think about. I'm not it's not going to help me to work with a generalist or somebody who thinks they know a little bit, or who knows what I know. I need to work with people who know things I don't know, so they can make me look good. A few years ago, we were doing recruitment very much the traditional way. There'd be a vacancy, the manager would say to you, we need to fill this vacancy quite urgently. We'd pop onto maybe LinkedIn or a job portal, place an ad, and then wait for the emails to come in. And we did that for obviously a number of years after the golden years of being able to use recruitment agencies for every position. After those ended, pre-financial crisis, and so we did recruitment on our own. We really didn't have any idea about the concept of candidate or recruitment marketing, of how different it is, of how important it is to have a strategy, which we refer to as our evergreen strategy, to build a pipeline of people who are interested in your business from early on. We didn't know any of that stuff, and we began working with Blueprint Talent, who I think really enlightened us on what it actually takes. First of all, what the world's doing out there, what the trends are in the world, then around what talent is actually available in South Africa compared to what it is that we need, and then on how we have to take a very different approach to looking at recruitment. And through that partnership, we have evolved significantly as a business. You know, we've really gone from putting an ad on LinkedIn or on a job portal, or gosh, on your own Facebook, profile, to having very strategic digital campaigns for positions, to putting out content that really speaks to our business, that really showcases ooba and what it's like to work here. We've become significantly more professional in the way that we manage the candidate experience. We've become enlightened as to what it takes to be more proactive in the way that we recruit. And we've managed to fill a number of positions that were very hard to fill traditionally. They've become, I wouldn't say easy to fill, but significantly easier to fill through all the efforts that we've put in place. It's really been, I feel privileged to be able to have that kind of partnership. We trust our partnership implicitly. We actually see this not as someone that we pay to do stuff for us, but rather somebody who's really integrally involved in making sure that we get the best people, that we are successful as a business. And the lengths that Blueprint Talent sometimes goes to make sure that happens is staggering, and probably far beyond the call of duty. In terms of having to deal with hiring managers who are difficult to deal with and who don't respond to emails and who you have to follow up with multiple times. But yeah, I feel incredibly privileged. I think that as a business of our size, to be able to have the benefit of a partnership like that, I'm super proud of it, and I'm so grateful. And I would recommend it to anybody out there. If you can do it, you definitely should. We absolutely love working with Blueprint Talent. They've become part of the business, really, part of the team, in fact. We have found that we've saved a significant amount of time, money, effort. If I look at the last financial year, if we had, with placements that we'd made through our partnership with Blueprint Talent, had we done that through an agency, we would have spent a significant amount of money, and in fact we probably saved close to 80% on our budget, just by working very smartly, very tactically, very strategically with Blueprint Talent. So, I mean, if I had to think back if I had to speak to my younger self as an HR practitioner, it would be ready for a time where it's not going to be good enough anymore to say vacancy, must have, no chances. If you don't hear from us in 2 weeks, consider your application unsuccessful. Be ready for a time where it's going to be the other way around, where it's going to be, you want me to work for your business? Do you work hybrid? One of the leading questions now. How much flexibility do I have? What's your culture? What's your policy on diversity, inclusion, and awareness? That would have been, it was inconceivable,